Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Demi. It's spelled D-I-E-M-M-I. It's spelled weird, I know, but Demi. That's how you pronounce my name. Today we are back talking about books. It's been a while since I've talked about books on my YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about this one. I took a little bit of a break from reading, not on purpose, just because I was really busy. And starting off with this book, I think I was holding it upside down right now, but starting off with this book, oh my goodness, this was a great book to start the year off on. I'm going to do basically a full review. I'll have spoilers in here just because every single one of my videos basically has spoilers, and I'm basically just ranting about the books I'm reading in every single one of my videos. But yeah, From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. If you don't know what this book is about, Mariana Zapata, she writes slow burn romances, so it is a romance book. It's a sports romance about two ice skaters who become partners because there's like different divisions in ice skating. They're couple partners because she doesn't do single ice skater. She does like the partner, like the dancing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's about this girl named Jasmine Santos and her subsequent relationship with Ivan Lukov, and that's why this book is called From Lukov with Love. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It is a slow burn, but I think that it was really worth it, and there was not a moment in this where I was frustrated reading it, because there's a lot of romance books where I just get so annoyed. I'm just like, oh, not this again, not this cliche again, or like, I don't know. The way that they built this up was so good. The banter actually had me laughing out loud sometimes. I was like, damn, that is a good comeback. That is a funny comeback. And they're always, the dynamic between Ivan and Jasmine is so, like, they're just bullying each other all the time. And to me, I don't know why, it felt so realistic. Like, this couple feels very realistic to me, and they just work, and I feel like they're meant for each other and that they're soulmates. And that's also, the only Mariana Zapata book that I've read before this one was The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and that's one thing I will definitely give Mariana Zapata, is that there is no doubt in my mind after I finish reading her books, I mean so far it's only 2, that after I finish it, that the couple, I just have no doubt in my mind that they are soulmates, and that anyone else would be perfect for the characters than each other. And in this book, Ivan and Jasmine are just perfect for each other. You can tell that they admire each other so much, and they're both so passionate about ice skating, and they're both the same. They're both so stubborn, so dedicated, and you fall in love with these characters. In the beginning of this book, I hated Jasmine. I thought she was so annoying. A little bit. I mean, I didn't think she was so annoying. I just thought she was annoying, and that she was just she's very insecure. And her insecurity and her self-doubt kind of felt like so much to me in the beginning, but over time, Jasmine grows as a character, and you just want what's best for her, and you just fall in love with her, and you're just like, yes, like, you go girl, you win, like, you win the medals, like, I don't know. Sorry, I literally wrote so many notes in my notes app about this book. I loved it. I just really loved it. After filming this video, I borrowed this from the library, so I'm gonna actually go to Barnes & Noble to buy it so that I could annotate the crap out of it. Is this in focus? But the banter, oh my goodness, so good. It's an enemies to lovers, I think I said that. And yeah, Jasmine is very insecure. She just cannot admit that to herself. She is so stubborn, and she thinks that she can handle everything on her own. The way that they wrote Jasmine as a character was so strong. Like, there's just so many things about her where you're like, it works. Like, she just feels like a fully realized person. And even though that this is a romance book, it feels more so like a self-discovery, self-love, self-growth type of book, like a very character-driven book about Jasmine. And the romance that she has with Lukov is kind of a backdrop. It's not a backdrop because that is the main reason for this book, but it kind of sits in the back of Jasmine learning to love herself and things like that. Like, Ivan just helps her along on her journey, and because of that companionship and that relationship, that's how their love builds. But it's mainly Jasmine trying to love herself, if that makes sense. There was so many scenes in this book that I loved. That's why I gotta buy it now. In the midpoint of the book, so it does start off enemies, and then it turns into best friends, and then turns into lovers. And the way that they wrote it, and the gradualness of how this happens was so well done that you don't even realize at what point they fall for each other. It just kind of happens, and it just makes sense. And I feel like it's kind of realistic to like how love works in real life. Like, you don't just instantly fall in love with someone, you know? It just kind of happens, and you don't know at what point that did happen. So this book, anybody who has a really big passion for something and just feels like they have a goal in life, or just like is really passionate about something that maybe other people don't get, they're gonna relate to Jasmine. Whether that be reading books, whether that be film, manga, knitting, crocheting, you know? I feel like Jasmine, you just relate to her because of that. She has daddy issues, and the daddy issues in this made me cry so much. There's a scene towards the end of the book, like the 75% mark, where she has dinner with her dad, and there's like a whole thing about it. And I love that Zapata, it's very much show don't tell, because in the very beginning there is a lot of telling. She talks about how she doesn't like her dad, Jasmine talks about how she doesn't like her dad, and etc., etc. But you don't really understand why, and then they show you the scene at dinner, and the things that her dad says to Jasmine, it made my blood boil. I was boiling, and I just felt for her so much because I got her. You know, I love theater, I love film, and that's like my goal in life. I want to make movies, and I want to be in movies and things like that, but Jasmine's dad is very much like, oh, why don't you do something practical? And because of that, I get it, Jasmine, because Jasmine's life is ice skating. That's all there is for her, because that is what she's good at. She also has a learning disability, so school, she just hated school when Jasmine was growing up. And yeah, it was very much like that scene. I was just crying my eyes out. And then towards the ending of the book and all of that, like, this is the first time I've really cried tears of happiness, because when Jasmine and Ivan were ice skating and they were doing their thing, and at the same time they were falling for each other, they were telling each other's feelings, and then the bracelet scene, if you guys have read it, you know what I'm talking about. Oh my god, I couldn't stop crying. I was just crying tears of happiness, and it was just such good payoff. This book had the best payoff, okay? Jasmine and Ivan, they're just meant for each other just because they're both so goddamn stubborn, so much Taurus energy from them, and I just think they're meant for each other because some of the things that Ivan does, in real life, low-key, I would not stand for. Like, he's very pushy, but I think Jasmine as a character, because she's very tough and she can take it, it just works with her, you know what I mean? Ivan and Jasmine are both really, really strong characters, and the scenes are really long in this book, but they go by quickly. You know, it's winter, right? It's January, it's winter. I think this is a great book to read for the time of the year because it's ice skating, and also there's just so much warmth. Especially towards the end, like, there's so much warmth and there's so much love and bonding. Like, oh my gosh, there's like a scene in this book where Ivan and Jasmine have a photo shoot, but they have to be butt-ass naked, and Jasmine, you know, she's very insecure. Ivan kind of like, I don't know, it was just such a good scene, and he was just telling her, like, you know, like, she's very insecure, and he makes fun of her all the time, and he says, like, you know you're beautiful. You do realize, like, I was just joking around with you, like, you don't want to do this photo shoot around me, but you would rather do it by yourself, even though millions of people are probably going to see it because she's going to be butt-ass naked, like, on camera. She just didn't want to be insecure in front of Ivan because she was scared that Ivan was going to make fun of her. And there's just this, like, so many tender moments where Ivan just kind of, like, tells her how great she is, and as a reader, you can feel it. Like, you see all the hard work that Jasmine is putting into ice skating. You know why Ivan is in love with her. And I was like, am I even straight? Because I'm starting to fall in love with Jasmine. Like, I see how, like, all the reasons why Ivan loves her, but I also see all the reasons why Jasmine loves Ivan, and I love when books do that. Like, when books really fully, like, it just makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, why they're meant for each other, and there's no doubt about it. I had so many tears, oh my goodness, reading this book. And oh my god, there's just, like, so much that happens, too. Like, towards the end, like, they're gonna get into a competition, and then Jasmine, she sprains her ankle, but the scene, I was like, oh no, like, my heart was pumping, and I was trying so hard not to force myself to continue reading. Like, I had to cover the page because I just wanted to skim to the next page because I just wanted to know, like, oh my god, she's literally gonna break her ankle. She's not gonna be able to, like, I thought they were gonna pull $1 million baby on us. Like, I don't know if anyone has ever seen that movie. Very depressing, but I thought they were gonna pull $1 million baby that they weren't gonna let Jasmine ever, like, complete her dreams and ever let her compete, and all of that work was gonna be for nothing, and she was gonna sprain her ankle, and it was gonna be like this big thing where it's not a temporary sprain, it's gonna, like, ruin her career. And I was like, no, I know the point of the story is that winning isn't everything, but I want her to win anyway. Like, I don't care. And, like, I just had so much anxiety reading that. And then the way that Ivan really cares for Jasmine, there's, like, a scene where Jasmine gets sick, and Ivan really, like, cares for her and, like, makes sure that she's okay, and it's so cute. Like, there's just so many good moments in this. Every moment in this book is a good moment. It starts out really slow, even, like, besides the point of the slow burn, but, like, in the beginning, setting up the partner relationship between Ivan and Jasmine. Like, they're in the beginning, right? They hate each other. The whole backstory is that Jasmine met Ivan's sister ice skating when she was younger, and Ivan's sister and Jasmine are, like, best friends, but Jasmine doesn't really have any other friends because she's very much, like, she's a very blunt person, and people can kind of see her as, like, unlikable and things like that. But she just keeps it real. That's basically how she is. And Ivan and her just have never gotten along, even though Jasmine is best friends with his sister. And yeah, that's basically, like, how that builds. So Ivan and Jasmine have known each other for a long time. They just never liked each other. And then he asks her in the beginning of the book, like, oh, do you want to be partners? And she's just like, am I tripping? Like, you want to be partners with me? We hate each other. This would never work because when you're skating partners, you're spending all your time with that other person, training, like, probably 12 hours a day or something, you know? Like, and yeah. And also, if you don't know, like, Ivan, he is a gold medalist. Like, he's an Olympian. He's like a very well-known ice skater. His family owns the ice skating rink that Jasmine trains at, and yeah, that's kind of, like, part of the backstory. And the one thing I will give this book that I didn't like as much was the way that they had the, like, sibling dynamic. I think that's the one thing that's kind of a weak spot in Mariana Zapata books, is that the side characters aren't really that great. Like, besides the main romance, the side characters aren't ever as strong. Jasmine has a really big family, and there's, like, a really big family dynamic, which I loved, but all of the actual characters, they kind of felt very similar to me. A lot of the siblings didn't feel distinct enough, where I was kind of confusing the names of each sibling and who was married to who, because they're all, like, married and have kids and whatever. Also, the one thing I also didn't like about this book was that apparently, Jasmine is half Filipino, and she was half Filipino for this whole book. But they explain her mom's a redhead, right? Redheads are usually white, and the whole time you're reading this, they don't ever mention that she's part Filipino until, like, you get 90% of the way through the book. And then they have this, like, one small remark about this girl who used to bully Jasmine and make racist remarks to her because she was half Filipino. And I was like, excuse me, she's what? She's half Filipino? How did I not know this for the entirety of the book? Like, I wish they at least explained that in the beginning, and it kind of felt like a very thrown out line, like, oh yeah, let's just like put in a little diversity in there, like make her half Filipino. And I love that. Like, I don't think that, you know, every single, like, this is an American book, right? It takes place in America, and a lot of families, they're not gonna have, like, be super like, oh, they have to eat like Filipino food and they have to have all this like cultural things. Like, she can just be a character who just so happens to be Filipino, and everything in the book can stay the same. And I love that they kind of put that representation there, that, oh, she's like an Asian character, you know? But I wish they at least told us that in the beginning instead of at the very end, because the way that we are going to picture Jasmine, because, like, sadly, this is kind of how society is that when you're reading books, the standard is white. When people usually read and the characters are described, we usually have the standard of white, which is so annoying, and I wish that wasn't a thing, but it is. So I just really wish that they just said it in the beginning. They said that her dad was Filipino in the very beginning, so that we got that picture, and pictured her as part Filipino, you know? I just feel like they didn't do that. They waited until the very end. And that's just like really weird to me. Like, it was just like a one-off line. Like, for example, right? When we're talking about representation, right? Let's talk about representation. If we read The Deal by L. Kennedy, which I made a whole video on already, Hannah could easily be Asian too, right? Like, there's nothing about her when they talk about her. I mean, they say that she has green eyes and stuff, but I just feel like there's just, but we just automatically imagine Hannah as white, when she could easily be another, like, she could have been Latina, you know what I mean? But sadly, white is a standard, so when you do have like a person of color in your book, you have to say that in the beginning, because they're not automatically gonna, when you're reading this, you're not going to automatically think right in the very beginning, oh yeah, she's definitely Filipino, unless you say that outright. And that's just the reality of it, and it sucks, but that's how it is, you know? You know, like, there's nothing we can do about it, but I just wish they did that. I just wish. The writing of this was so good. Another thing, okay, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I've already said that, but these are just like the small things about it. They talk about Instagram, but they call it pictogram. I don't know if that's like a thing, like, oh, you're not allowed to use the word Instagram in book. Just call it Instagram. Just call it Instagram. Like, come on. Just call it Instagram. I had so many tears for this book. I fell in love with these characters. Like, oh, I was crying so much. And I love that at the end of the day, by the end of the book, it's not about winning. It's just about, you know, the relationships you make on the way. Ah, it's cheesy. But I love that, you know, Jasmine grows in that way, because in the very beginning, she feels like a failure because she hasn't been able to win anything. Even though she's like a really, really talented ice skater, she's never won. And so she thinks like, maybe I am a failure, maybe I am this is pointless to put my life into ice skating because I haven't won. Like, it's not worth it unless you win, and that's her mentality for most of the book. And I love that by the end they explain that it doesn't matter about winning. It just matters about like the connection she made and like her partner with Ivan and stuff like that. Also, I love that there's kind of, I mean, in my opinion, kind of like a body positive outlook to this book, because Jasmine is also very insecure about her body, and people make comments on her body, especially on social media and things like that. And the way that Ivan describes Jasmine and like tries to make her feel better, he does it in such a great way. He, like, for example, she says like, oh, like, people are gonna make fun of like my butt, or like etc, etc, and he explains to her, you know, usually people like say, oh, your butt looks great, like you look great, etc, etc. The way he explains it is, no one like has a butt that has the ability, or the legs that have the ability to do what you can do. Like, your body is so capable of doing these insane things in ice skating, twisting and jumping to extremes. People who would make fun of that are insane and ignorant and stupid. And I love that they explain it that way. That they don't just go on and say, oh, Jasmine, you're beautiful just the way you are, whatever. They explain her body in a way that's about ability and capability. Because at the end of the day, it isn't what it looks like. It's about what your body can do for you. And I love that. I really digged that scene. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. This couple, I'm gonna go. Oh my god, wait, is it raining? Oh shit, it's raining. I wanna go to Barnes & Noble to buy this book. Okay, we'll see if I end up going. But yeah, I bought this at the library, and sorry if you guys don't like it when people dog tag. I don't like dog tagging my own books, and I guess since it's from the library, I decided I could do that, but I dog tagged all of these parts where I was just so in love with the scene. And I'm gonna buy the book and I'm gonna annotate it, and hopefully one day reread it if I'm feeling down. I loved this book. I loved it. Oh my god. So yes, I do recommend reading it. Give it a chance. It is slow. It is a slow burn. It is slow, but expect it, and just read for the characters. Read for the characters, read for the dynamic, read for the banter, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. It's so good! I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, bye.